Welcome back everyone, Steve! And today... And today I actually have a pretty bad cough. Please keep me in your prayers. Hopefully it's not COVID. Anyway guys, today we are going to be continuing on Deku's journey of becoming the #1 hero with chapter 325 of My Hero Academia. After going through his emo stinky boy phase, Deku is now finally accepted by everyone and is given hope and a reminder that he's not alone. This chapter highlights the change that is needed in society, where today's interaction with the heroes, Deku and the civilians brings the reform that will ripple into the greater world. Yes, this spark will literally change the world. Come on guys, by now you guys should know that Japan is literally the whole world in animes.
So true.
This all goes back to our analysis predicting how Deku is the hero who will inspire this reform through the people around him, from the previous generation to the current and the future generation, changing the general perception of what a hero is, along with the role the ordinary civilians play. We actually explain all of this thoroughly on why Deku is the #1 hero, so make sure you check that video out. And if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, like completely you're clueless by this point, then you obviously didn't hit that notification bell and aren't up to date with our content. So make sure you do that right now so we are all on the same page. So the chapter kicks off with Minata trying to run after Deku. Obviously Horikoshi is not trying to let that ship end just yet, it seems, but Ida sure is, as he stops him in his tracks, telling him that it's not their place at the moment as he looks up at Uraraka. The point he's trying to make is that, as Uraraka has been saying, it's time for the heroes to be saved, and that calls for the help of the civilians. Having another hero try to console Deku in this situation would defeat the purpose of Uraraka's message, but that's when Gota and the giant fox lady rushes over to help Deku. They apologize to Deku and explain how Uraraka's word affected them. Gota, completely bawling his eyes out, tells Deku, "I am here," just like a hero would, and that Deku doesn't need to cry anymore because everything will be a-okay. Look at the mirror, you're crying even more than he is. Give this boy some tissues. But the fox girl on the other hand then starts to explain on how she was turned down from other shelters due to her quirk, where by now we should understand the world of My Hero Academia isn't as perfect as we all like to believe. Like we have seen lately, the people are quick to judge others and act in a selfish manner, which we saw in how they quickly dismissed Deku's safety in order to save themselves. Well, in similar ways, some people are also quite bigoted and discriminatory to others because of how their quirk affect their external features, like how we saw with Spinner and his lizard skin, and now this lady and her fox quirk. However, unlike Spinner, who decided to follow Stain's ideology, later turning into a villain in the hopes of creating a new society, the fox girl instead tries to look on the bright side, telling Deku on how if she had never been turned away, she would also have never bumped into Deku again, and how lucky that makes her feel. Time and time again, Horikoshi illustrates on how the action of one, a true hero, can make a difference in the society as a whole. For instance, Gota was literally a representation of Shigaraki's father, both who hated heroes because of what happened to their parents, and in a way their abandonment. And likewise, Eri is a comparison to Shigaraki. Dogface girl, Foxface, whatever her name is a comparison to Spinner. However, all of these latter characters were saved by Deku, ultimately changing the potential despair and future they might have faced. Now, after Uraraka's speech, through all of this goat from chapter 1, yes guys, this dude was from chapter 1, who was probably one of the first random person to show any real belief in Deku in becoming a hero. When he witnessed him taking notes, wishing him good luck on his journey, he appears out of nowhere and tells the crowd on how instead of blaming Deku, they should instead hear him out, as this is the only place he can rest up, and they are low on the available manpower that they can use to take down the villains anyways. This actually starts a debate amongst the civilians, where one person chimes in and suggests that Deku should just be sent away to Shuketsu High to recover. And if you guys forgot, Shuketsu High is another stronghold facility. But as it's pointed out, if they send him there, it would just be pushing the problem onto another, which is something the people of the My Hero world have wrongly become accustomed to. The man from chapter 1 continues to explain how the civilians have taken on the role of the audience, whilst the heroes are the performers, and that since All Might Reign started, the civilians have done nothing but sit back and watched, while the heroes are the ones who are getting their hands dirty for their sake. Our old man Gigi then asks everyone that who do they think that the ones left are fighting for? And of course, as we know, it's everyone. The new generation are spearheading a society where everyone can become a hero in their own way, big or small, by coming together as one unified civilization. And this is further proven when the man says how if they reject the only heroes that they have left, they can never regain their lives and move forwards. Like, how long do they plan on playing the audience? Essentially asking how long do they plan on sitting back and watching when they could be instead joining together to fight and support the heroes who are risking their lives for the future. As the man's speech resonates through the crowd, at this point, the boy who spoke out against Deku back in chapter 324 once again speaks out. But this time around, he mentions how there is a rumor of a beat up man who could use multiple quirks all at once. A man serving as a decoy for the villains, where some even called him a true hero. Now obviously this is referring to Deku, and he knows it. Even though the civilians are scared, some of them at least do have some comprehension on the importance of these heroes. Like, the boy is wearing an All Might shirt, even after all of this craziness, showing us that he still holds on to the hope All Might once brought. With that, the boy asks Deku if he stays and recovers, will that help everyone get back their lives to what it once was? Even though it's a selfish thought, it's a question that is probably on everyone's mind. And realistically, that way of thinking would also apply in our day and age. Like we mentioned time and time again, the heroes are fundamentally seen as a monolith associated with the government and those who are responsible for our public safety. It's like the police force or army, where civilians are depending on them and expecting safety as a right to life. It's even likely that the Hero Commission and the pay the heroes get are given to them by public funds and taxes. Some of these heroes were driven by the money to begin with, like the case of Uraraka, so the civilians having these expectations are understandable. Regardless, in response to this kid's question, Deku straight up says, "I am no longer alone, and I will take back everything." Deku's statement is literally the undertone of everything his quirk One for All stands for, where one person can stand for all and all can stand for one. Well, with that guys, I'm going to be passing on to Harrison, who is going to go further into the chapter and discuss the singularity and One for All's motivation.
Thank you, Yusuf. Now, on the other side of UA, Shoto, Endeavor and Hawks are approached by Ectoplasm, asking if they've heard Uraraka's speech, telling them to finally come inside and see how it affected everyone to calm down and accept the situation that everybody is in, including the heroes. Overlooking this, Endeavor has an epiphany that in the end all they did was push the burden to Deku. Rather than actually making any real progress, they just instead went on a detour. Hawks interjects this, however, suggesting that in terms of progress, that this was a step forward. What happened with Uraraka's speech, uniting everyone in the true crystallization of One for All. It's One for All which connected All Might to Midoriya. Midoriya then connected with his classmates, which finally led to Uraraka connecting Midoriya, the holder of One for All, to the civilians who had their doubts. Everything ended up coming full circle, making them care just that little more about the heroes and not act like dumb NPCs letting the heroes burden everything. Instead of darkness and rain, where people can't even empathize with heroes or one another, as we saw with the Fox Girl, who wasn't allowed entry at some shelters just because she was different from the others with her mutant quirk. This blindness and ignorance was the reason for so much of the darkness which envelops the world currently. All of the villains were forced to become the bad guys because they didn't fit in. They were discriminated against, and so society betrayed them. For example, Shigaraki being abused by his father, being ignored by the old lady in chapter 237 because he looked like a creepy boy, Dabi being forced to carry the burden of his father's dreams upon his shoulders, which eventually led to the death of Toyo Todoroki. I can go on and on about how the very actions the people in their scared and nervous state had acted out, just like they did against the Fox Girl, which is also the reason for the villain's existence in the first place. At the end of the day, we all need someone to lean on. Without that sense of community, being banned from participating in society made them want to go against it. However, right now in UA, the connections woven by One for All has caused all the people in the crowd to accept Deku, even though he is different with similarity to the enemy by having multiple quirks, along with being very stinky since he hasn't showered in weeks. I mean, my guy basically looked like a villain a few chapters ago. But most importantly, this acceptance showcased that the civilians took the step in becoming the heroes in their rights by possibly risking their safety for Deku. This change and acceptance shows the growth within the My Hero world. Everyone from the ordinary people and the heroes are learning to move forward together. This is also shown with Shoto, who was upset with Endeavor a few chapters ago for not letting him go outside of UA, or even conversing with his own son, comes forward and tells Endeavor that they are going to handle Dabi together. Literally everybody is coming together now. In a way, this is the reforming society which is needed. The interaction we see with the public will eventually ripple into greater society where Deku's goals in building a world where villains can be understood and the people who would fall into that despair can be supported and saved before they become something beyond saving. The principal is then seen on the phone with Aizawa, informing him of the events that had just transpired outside. We finally get a good look at Aizawa properly now, with his right eye damaged and his foot replaced with a prosthetic leg. The principal asks Aizawa about Kurogiri, to which he responds saying that they are trying their hardest to get Kurogiri to come out and talk, however they had zero success in doing so. He was transported to Central to become a research subject as he is a Nomu. The reason Kurogiri is so unresponsive could be due to All For One still having a hold of him though. Just like how Nagant blew up when she had a change of heart, Kurogiri probably has a similar contingency implanted by All For One. Now of course, Kurogiri is actually a Nomu created from Aizawa's friend Shirakumo's corpse. Even though there seems to be no hint of Shirakumo within Kurogiri, Aizawa still holds faith that there is a chance for his friend to come back. The whole subplot with Kurogiri is linked back with All For One and his god complex, trying to be in control of not just society but all of humans themselves, bringing the dead back to life so that they are subservient to him, following the concept of becoming the demon lord that he was found to become, as he mentioned back in chapter 269. Nomus, including Kurogiri, were once humans that were toyed with into becoming tools to obey One For All. We have a whole video discussing Shirakumo and Aizawa's relationship, so you guys should definitely go and check that out as it's been displayed to you right now on your screen so that you can fully understand the My Hero Academia story. Aizawa moves on to Toga, saying that they have calculated just how much blood she can absorb and how long her transformation lasts. Due to this discovery, they only let a certain number of evacuees in at a time, and there is also an interval between each group's entry. UA is impenetrable, and it's time for the hero's revenge to finally begin. However, it's not over yet, as the rain still pours, bringing a sense of uncertainty to anything that the heroes might try. Now finally, let me quickly go over a theory that the My Hero community has about One For All getting rid of the Quirk singularity within the My Hero world. Now, if you guys remember all the way back in chapter 245, the Doctor spoke about the Quirk singularity, where with each generation of Quirk users, the Quirks become stronger. It will eventually reach a point where the Quirks become so strong that the bodies won't be able to withstand their toll. Similar to how Midoriya had to strengthen his body to utilize the power of One For All. The Quirk singularity is used as a justification by the Doctor and even All For One to do the evil things they do. The Doctor does research into Nomus because he wants to find a way to mutate the body alongside the Quirks so that people won't die due to the Quirks in the future. However, of course, their ways are very flawed, with All For One being just a manipulative, egocentric psychopath. This impending doom for the humans is inevitable, and so the show has to find a solution for the Quirk singularity apocalypse. So this theory suggests that One For All gaining the power of All For One will be the key to solving the Quirk singularity. We already know that Midoriya is the final user, meaning that One For All has matured enough. The logical conclusion to the brothers' story would be their two Quirks, All For One and One For All, to become one and disperse among the entire world, halting the destruction of humanity. Listen, I know how crazy this shit sounds, okay? Honestly, this might be a crazier theory than Bakugo time travel, but the latest chapter could be seen as a hint towards this conclusion. In the chapter, we are literally shown how it was the connections One For All made with Midoriya, the class, and All Might which allowed for everyone to come together and smile. Why not, by the end of the story, that this isn't just a metaphor anymore, but an actual result of all the Vestige's actions. The most heroic thing for a quirkless boy who finally got his wish from Quirks would be to give it all up in order to save pretty much everyone in the world. All Might saved, people for 3 days straight, but Deku saved everyone, including the future generations, from the greatest threat, the Quirk singularity. This theory is truly some crackpot next level stuff, okay? I ain't gonna lie. The My Hero community is smoking that good stuff.
That shit good.
I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to hit the bell and the like button to support us and these weekly My Hero Academia videos. As always, be sure to check out the Deku merch in the description below, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.